Scott, you look good too. Robert,
Your tattoo's looking amazing.
Robert, you look great.
Great.
I need your fucking pep talks, Jeff.
You maybe negative instead? Does that help you?
Just be quiet.
Oh, he's a vegan chef, so that's like important to know.
Oh yeah. So hey YouTube. We have a very special guest coming on tonight. His name is
Chef Edwin Anthony Rodriguez.
Dude, you messed me up. I was gonna say it.
No, sorry.
Say it again though. Say it again.
Chef Edwin Anthony Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm. And he will be joining us on Good Morning Comrade this week. We're waiting for him to join us, but in the meantime, we have Jeff, Robert, and Aaron, and also, surprise, Scott's fox tattoo.
Hey.
Which I'm really here for. Did Mecca do that?
Yep.
It looks so good.
Yeah, she's good at her job.
Who is Mecca?
Mecca is my friend. She was on the lost episode of the show, the one that we couldn't put on the air because I was very drunk and sad.
That was the day you got sad and passed out on the show.
Yeah, I fell asleep on the show.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
It really does
I remember that. It was fine. It wasn't that bad.
That day. It happened. I'm not judging him for sure. We're definitely not judging Scott.
Mecca did my sister's tattoo as well.
Well,
yeah, Mecca did one.
You guys are tattoo friends.
Mecca is a professional.
She's doing a bunch of them now.
No, she's actually like, we're not kidding. Like, she's like a really, really good. She was on Inked, right?
Oh, she was on one of those shows. Oh man, the one with Dave. The one with Dave.
Yeah, but it wasn't the one. She wasn't on one of the ones for
Dave Rubin.
It was like Dave, on one of their like smaller like.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny because like I was hanging out by their house one day, and they're like a bunch of people just showed up with cameras, and they're like, "We got to shoot this like content." And I'm like, "Oh shit."
Wait, are you in that?
No, I was sitting on the couch when they filmed it.
I was like, I've seen it. I don't remember seeing you.
Yeah,
he was the couch guy.
But yeah, she was on the episode, and it was just like you. I just used to go over their house all the time and just be like, "Hey, I'm hanging out," because it was like between home and work, so it was like I'm just gonna stay here. And then they just like had an episode. They showed up and like filmed and stuff. And I was like, "That's weird."
It is weird.
That's funny.
She's
a really good tattoo artist.
Yeah.
She's local, right? She's at what? Hell and High Water now?
Yep, Magazine Street.
Yeah. I like that place.
Yep.
Cool.
Good location. Right by some crepe place I've never been to.
Also, aren't they right next to Lily's?
I'm not sure.
Lily's? Yeah, I think that's Hell or High Water.
Is that the crepe place?
No, that's the Vietnamese place. That's like my favorite place in the city that I
think
like.
The crepe place is 1,000 Figs, right? Or is that in Mid City?
No,
that is neither of those things.
1,000 Figs is like by St. John.
Yeah, that's more like a. That's not. I'm sorry. That's not crepes. That's like Greek.
It's just expensive and stupid.
Crepes are French, Jeff.
Aren't y'all?
I do like figs though. Figs
so
are
you all
delicious.
have French last names.
Figs.
Like, how do you not know about crepes?
I mean, I did. I was the one doing the correcting.
Okay, fair. So Scott. So when I say y'all, I mean you specifically. Oh,
I guess Jeff has
literally passed out this whole time, and he's
Johnny has opinions about crepes.
in his feelings now.
Johnny on the spot.
Johnny.
Johnny.
Oh my God, y'all.
What climbed up his ass?
Why are you like this?
This one.
Yeah, before we start. It's his defense. It is a full moon, and there is a storm.
Ooh.
Johnny's a freak.
YouTube. Say hi to YouTube.
Hello. Oh, he's connecting audio. Hello.
Hello?
No.
He's still connected.
Are we in?
We can hear you.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up?
How's it going,
How
sir?
are you? You're muted now.
Okay, great. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
How are you?
How you doing, Chef?
I'm doing great, guys. What
Thanks
we got?
for joining us.
It was a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Can I get some names?
Scott,
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
me.
What's up, Scott?
This
is my brother Jeff.
Here. My name's Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
I'm Erin.
I didn't get your name, dear.
I'm Erin.
What's up, Erin?
How are you?
And Robert.
Jeff, Scott, Erin, and Robert.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
My
So we're
dog
live
Johnny
right
is
now.
in studio.
Yeah,
and
Johnny's
he
here. Johnny
sometimes
is
barks,
in the
so
studio,
sorry.
the three-legged dog. We are currently live on Facebook. I'm just going to bring us in with a little sound, and we'll be ready for tomorrow morning. Ready?
Bring us all the way in.
No cursing as well.
Oh yeah. Watch the mouse.
Yeah, it's
Community
Tuesday.
radio.
0.
Oop, 1 sec. All right. Starting recording in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, comrades. You are listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This show is Good Morning, Comrade. Today we have in the studio, virtually of course, Scott, Erin, and Robert. We also have a very special guest. We have Chef Edwin. How you doing? Where are you coming at us from?
I'm in North Carolina right now.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Where in North
Oh,
Carolina?
are you bracing for that hurricane, or did it already pass you?
I've never experienced a hurricane. I'm from New York, so
Oh, wow.
Well,
I'm
if you need
hoping
any
for the
tips,
best.
You need any tips.
You weren't there for Sandy?
We were all very surprised by Sandy. We went to sleep and we woke up and things were flooded.
I mean, yeah.
I can't imagine.
When does a hurricane ever
What
hit New York,
happened
right?
here? What happened? What is all this?
New York doesn't, we try not to prepare. We're just like, oh, we just let it pass, and then it passed. And it was
The one
very
time
bad.
New York slept.
Yeah, it was very bad.
that
Wasn't good.
But
was good.
yeah, Chef Edwin, I saw you online. You shared a video of an owner talking about not caring about standards, like health code standards.
We're gonna go right into it. Yes. You want me to talk about it? Because there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
We
ahead.
are
Talk about
pretty
a little bit who you are.
anti-boss
I guess
Let's
you
talk
introduce
about
yourself
it.
a little bit. Like, what do you do? What's your background a little bit? And then we can get into that.
Yeah, sorry.
So I am a New York City chef. Just moved out here to North Carolina, but I spent my entire career in New York. 70 restaurants, every type of cuisine, Italian, French, American, Spanish, Mexican, everything. And 14 years later, we're here. I've been on Food Network, NBC, Telemundo, every food festival in New York. I've done a lot of them. Yeah. And now we're here. I like talking about the present. We're here. Love cooking. I love doing the vegan food now for the people. Working at, when I was 22, I worked for Gordon Ramsay at one of his restaurants in New York City.
I got a question about Gordon Ramsay. Is he cool or is he like mean? Or is he
So he only had one restaurant in New York. So he barely was there. I didn't see him. He was there in London. He has a couple restaurants, and around the world he's at a couple restaurants. But in New York, it was only that one. So he's barely there, and it was only a licensing agreement. But that's probably the top question I get asked. And the thing is, a lot of chefs act like that TV persona because cooking.
I can confirm that actually from my experience in restaurants.
It's just Gordon Ramsay. That persona is just personified in a lot of chefs.
And it existed before Gordon Ramsay was like a character.
Yeah.
Too.
My mom told me that when she was a waitress, like there was a chef that wouldn't give her food orders if she didn't flash him. So she like ended up not being able to work there.
Whoa.
This is like back in the 70s, but I mean, it seems like not a super healthy environment.
That's a health code violation.
We got
Jesus.
We had
say the least.
At the pizza place I work at, we had a kind of old school chef, like an older guy. He had like big mutton chops and all this stupid stuff. But then like he just started talking shit to like all the women who worked there and like wouldn't do the things he said. And he was like, dude, like the person who owns this is like a woman. Like you can't just like be a jerk like that. Like you don't even understand how like communities work. Like
yo, I think that we can talk kitchen stories. People are so surprised when they don't work in the kitchen. These environments are different.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
I actually came in
kitchens.
I came into like kitchen stuff like kind of like around when the Kitchen Confidential and that movie came out about working in a kitchen and how everybody just like is a jerk all the time. So it's very much like that like frat energy when I started working there. And it's like one guy I know got fired because he put one of the club salad one of the club sandwich toothpicks inside a straw and shot somebody in the eye with it.
That's not funny, but that's kind of funny.
Yeah, he got him. Like they had to fire him.
Yeah, but y'all don't have insurance though, right?
Yeah, that's why they fired him.
Yeah, well, he had to go.
You probably should have been fired even if you had insurance. That's like extra egregious.
Yeah. Still.
So Kitchen Confidential, Bourdain, good?
Very accurate.
Very accurate. Yeah, I got that sense myself. And like, I don't know, Bourdain was a really interesting character as well. Just sort of like the way he would talk about food and places. Like he was kind of doing the tourist thing, but he was doing it in a very honest way. He's like, hey, look at me, I'm being a tourist and I'm trying not to be an asshole. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing that a lot of chefs admire about Bourdain is because the culture is crazy, but there are a lot of beautiful things about the culture. Being a chef, you always want to teach. It started as an apprentice job. So you always take someone under your wing and you want to show them all your recipes. You want to show them how to cut. You want to show them everything you can. So even though there are some negatives, there's some very beautiful things. And that's what Bourdain was doing when he's doing his show. He's just putting people on to all the different foods, all the different cuisines. And you learn so much about people through the food.
Yeah.
You can learn about a whole culture through the food. So those are some of the most beautiful things about being a chef. And that's something that we admire about Bourdain.
Yeah.
Love that.
Well, that's the whole thing. So
he was so good at talking about it. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
We're based out of New Orleans, and when he came down, he loved New Orleans, and when he came down, he had the Yakamain ladies food, and apparently he really like. So she's a local. She's at all the festivals. She doesn't have like a storefront, but she's you can order from her at any time. And he like after the show was done, like he kept in touch with her. Apparently he helped her like brand her food. Like he really, he did that. He was a mentor to her. And this was after he was already famous. Like the show had been going on for a long time. And she's pretty well known now. I think a lot of people when they come to New Orleans, like eat food.
Who's this?
She just lives around and she's super sweet.
Drop a name. What's her name?
Linda, the Yakamain lady. I don't know. Let me look at it.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. That's one of the things about being a chef. You always pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The bad chefs
want to be Miss Linda, excuse me. I'm from the north, so I still haven't quite a Ms. in front of, but Ms. Linda, the Yakamain lady.
Don't you get Southern real quick right now?
Yeah, say y'all.
Y'all. It's gender neutral. I'm here for it.
So thank you for coming on the show, Chef. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. The chef thing is a very humble cuisine, a very humble job. My attitude didn't change. I've been cooking since I was 17 in New York City, started as a line cook. And then I got on TV and nothing really changed. It's the same thing. I'm just cooking food.
Yeah, more people know who you are.
Are you like a food photographer as well? Because I'm looking at your social media and I'm like, I'm trying to eat that papaya like immediately that you had for breakfast. These pictures
I'm my girlfriend handles a lot of my social media and my pictures.
Give her a raise. She's amazing. These look so
Thank
good.
You.
Give your girlfriend a raise is what she just said.
Give your girlfriend a raise.
And I'm in the back like, yes, raise.
Emotional labor is labor too. Okay.
Oh my God. Just don't have me in hot water.
Yeah, sorry. You didn't know this was gonna be a gotcha interview, huh?
Oh my gosh.
So what brought y'all to North Carolina?
Once again, that goes to my girlfriend. She said, how much is your rent in Williamsburg, New York? She said, you could get a mansion out here in the South. I didn't believe her, and then I came out here and I was like, wow, it's true.
Yeah, pretty much.
New York is, I went to go visit my friend and she told me what she was paying for her rent, and she literally was living in 180 square feet. And I was like, what? How could you possibly?
Let's throw out numbers. I was paying $2,800 for a 1-bedroom in New York, no utilities, and it was just a 1-bedroom apartment. It was in Williamsburg, very nice area, but $2,800. That's how much New York rent.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous because I used to live in Biloxi, Mississippi, right on the beach for $700 a month. that was pretty much the best place I ever had.
Was that pre or post Katrina?
Post. This was like way after though.
Yeah.
Like 10 years after.
What were you doing in Biloxi?
It's working.
I feel like every time this show, it's like
he worked at the Air Force base.
Yeah, he's an Air Force guy.
He was at the
That's
Air
right.
Force base. Oh,
That's
no.
right.
That was when I stopped cooking for a while. But I'm back.
He stopped cooking to be in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And to go on 2 tours to Kuwait and Iraq.
Is this a true story? It's usually reversed. I hire a lot of people out the armed forces, but they do the armed forces first.
No, I did armed forces and I joined the military and I was like, this sucks. I'm gonna be a line cook again.
Yeah. So he started. So his first job in restaurants was back in the day in Slidell. We used to work at the same restaurants. That's my brother.
Yeah.
And we worked at the same restaurant down at the end of military, Gaza Military Road in Slidell, Schaefer's Restaurant.
I'm sure you've heard of it.
It's the world famous, no longer there, Schaefer's.
In beautiful Slidell.
Beautiful Slidell, Louisiana.
But yeah, he was a waiter. And I mean, he was a waiter, and I used to wash dishes, so we just curse each other out every day.
You did prep too.
Yeah, but
Is that why this is such a toxic broy environment? Is because you both worked in kitchens?
We got a lot of kitchen in us. We got a lot of restaurant in us.
Is that why I'm the only woman ever on this show?
Yeah.
Did you guys catch that famous movie? Everybody knows it. Who got in there?
Ratatouille.
Who? No.
Ratatouille. Oh, damn.
Waiting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that is like my actual only, because I never worked in kitchens. I always worked, my like school jobs were always
you know what I noticed about that movie though? They weren't stressed enough in that movie. They were just
They weren't stressed enough.
They were having a good time.
Stressed.
They weren't being awful because they were miserable. They were being awful because they were like in a movie.
But didn't they capture the funny moments perfectly? I feel like it was very accurate.
In a sense they did. The vibe I think they missed was the like constant like, only one of the characters was the one that was like there forever. She like been there for a really long time.
Yeah.
And she was like the sort of like senior like shift lead or whatever employee. And then like
everybody else is like
just like, oh, whatever. You know what I mean?
Wait, but Rob and Scott, nobody wants to see the stress that we really were in though.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
It's not good for the Hollywood movie.
It's not good for the movies. And we'll talk. Can we get into my latest restaurant?
Yeah,
how'd that go? Nobody wants to see that. So, but we'll talk about it. So, we had a owner. Oftentimes, the owner and chef relationship is
tenuous.
Is a lot going on. It's very stressful. It's a lot going on.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because the chef is an artist and the owner is usually a business person.
They're capitalists, yeah.
Yes. And then you have the customer who only cares about the food. They just want to get served.
Yeah.
So oftentimes there's a misunderstanding between the two parties. So with this latest endeavor, we had a restaurant open up and we had the owner on camera stating he did not care about any food safety, any regulations, food being spoiled, did not care. He said, I'm here to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what? That is the most honest thing. That is the most honest thing that he could possibly say, I suppose. I mean, like, credit in a sense that to that point. However, it's also reprehensible.
Okay, so I have some questions.
Yes.
So lead us into this. I'm assuming this is not the first time that he or she or they have been sketchy because someone was filming. So that leads me to think that maybe someone knew this was gonna like come up.
So me being in 70 restaurants, this is his first restaurant. It was his first restaurant. I've been at 70. That's how I paid for college, how I got like Bourdain, I started from line cook, sous chef, executive chef, consulting chef, no culinary school, didn't get skipped through anything. So I had to learn how to cut a chicken 100 times, 1,000 times, a beet, a carrot, an onion.
Every place does it different.
Every place does it different, and it is great. So I started 17, so I just learned from, never stopped. So we go in, his owner's first restaurant. To take on a restaurant as your first time, you got to learn alcohol, you got to learn serving, you got to learn food, you got to learn everything. You got a whole lot to learn. So my man initially was listening. Towards the end, stopped listening so much. I'm from New York, so I get in North Carolina. It's a very rural part that I went to open this restaurant. It was very random. The entire community was like, where did you get a New York City Food Network chef to come and open this restaurant in the middle of nowhere? But I took it on because honestly, people are the same everywhere. I love people. I love cooking for people. It doesn't matter if it's my mama or for you guys or for people that are paying $300 for the plate. It's all the same thing. It's all the same. It's the same thing. Standards. That's it. So
that's the kind of thing like I really like about like the $300 plate of the expensive restaurants or whatever, is that like they're buying just prestige. They're buying something that isn't actually real. I mean, the food is not, it's good, obviously, but I mean, you're buying it to the point where you're buying it because it's expensive, not because it's you're consuming conspicuously.
Now, Rob, hold on. The thing is that, you know, the rule is that from good to great is only 10% different. You can go to your favorite restaurant, you'll probably get good food. Just to get that extra 10% is, if you want to have caviar paired perfectly with a wine, paired perfectly with a first course, yeah, you got to pay. And it's very difficult to get that 10%.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
I guess a lot of it is like got to do with finishing and like portion size and stuff like that. But it's like you see a photo. Most photographers you say are in the 90%. Then you have a 10% that's just 10% better, just a little bit better. Yeah, you got to pay for it. There is a level to, but do you have to have that every day? No. Do you have to have it once a year? Possibly. Can you go your whole life without having that 10%? Sure. Who wants to have the best taco, a perfect taco? What's the big difference between a perfect taco and a good taco? It's not a big difference, but there is, that 10% does exist. Yeah, so you do pay for it. Some people want the extra 10, you know?
Mm-hmm. You are listening to WHIV-LP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. You're listening to Scott, Jeff, Aaron, and Robert. We also have very special guest, Chef Edwin, on the show today. I've also, I guess, extrapolate a little bit further on that dynamic that exists between the chef, who you described as an artist, and the businessman, who is usually the owner of the restaurant, when they're not the same person specifically.
So being in 70 restaurants, I've been able to analyze these situations and study these characters, study these owners. 70 business owners, 70 at least, because sometimes the owners, there'll be like 6 of them. In New York, the property costs so much, it'll be 7 owners with a percentage. Oftentimes, it's inexperience from these restaurant owners. When I worked for people like Gordon Ramsay, when I worked for Danny Meyer, when I worked for people that are affiliated with Thomas Keller, these are some of the best restaurateurs in the world. The environment is very professional. And when I worked for these smaller business owners, oftentimes it would be like their first or second or third or fourth project. And a restaurant is just, that dynamic is just strained more in this age because the turnover in these restaurants is huge and people just don't have the experience. They're not taking restaurants seriously. They're difficult things to run. They're very difficult. So a lot of these people just open these restaurants just to open them.
Yeah.
Why do you see
I've sometimes worked for people who like get caught up in the restaurant life. They like buying people free drinks and all that, and they like really get off on like the social status or whatever.
Yep.
And then they just go into That's when people start stealing.
Yes. They'll open a restaurant and be like, hey, I got a restaurant. You want to come hang out at my restaurant? It's like, no, this is the whole business. You got to relax.
Yeah. Why do you think the turnover rate for workers is so high?
I don't want to fault just the business owner. The industry has also collapsed on itself.
Yeah, well, it's not something that's unique to any individual like restaurant owner or whatever. It's just an industry-wide sort of plague. Why do you think that that's the case? Why do you think that in be it kitchens or service staff or front of the house, back of the house, all across the board, dishwashers, there is such a super high attrition rate that goes along with being, a part of a restaurant, like working at a restaurant. Because I mean, I worked in that field for years, and I did over 10 years in restaurants, and it was like a crazy number of people would just be gone, so quickly.
It's the nature of the beast. It's the industry. Cooking, these restaurants are unregulated, so anyone can really, for the most part, anyone can open a restaurant. Anyone can be a chef. There are certifications for these chefs. There's a chef, all types of certification. But for the most part, when you're applying for these chef jobs, it's just come in and cook, and you start from the bottom. To open a restaurant, a lot of these restaurateurs just open the restaurant. Now, when I work with large restaurant groups, it's completely different. You have rules and regulations. You got a handbook. But for a lot of these small restaurant owners, I know in New York, when I worked in a lot of these restaurants, people just open a restaurant. They wouldn't even know what they're doing. No business plan. You know how many times I've seen a business plan in these restaurants? 50% of the time. 50% of the time in 70 restaurants that I see a business plan.
A lot of times the business plan is just open.
So that is now the future of this industry, I think, is finally catching up. It's finally catching up. People are like, we cannot treat our workers like this. I know my conflict comes from being in between millennial. I think that workers are your best investment. And a lot of times business owners do not think that, especially with restaurants. In other industries, yes. So in this restaurant thing, you're dealing with people. It's a people industry. So it's not an exact science. So you're going to have high turnover. You got to be good with people. You have to be good with people. A lot of these business owners are not good with people. They're good with business. It's not the same thing. So that's the problem.
It feels like that is kind of a uniquely American issue, because I know that, I'm thinking about kind of well-known foodie places, like we'll say France or places in Europe generally. The idea people are career servers and they are amazing at it, and they work their whole lives as a server and they're good at it and they get respect because they're really good at their jobs. And I think that as far as please stop me if I'm wrong, but in the US, the industry, it's okay. If you're a chef, you get respect. If you're a sommelier, you get respect. If you're a restaurant owner, you get respect. But if you are working as a server for 40 years, that's not something to be considered. That's working front of house is something an in-between job. Or if you're the head of the bar, that's a great job. If you're a bartender, maybe that's not as prestigious. So it's this weird idea that all of these things are needed to make the restaurant run, but only certain roles are considered to be kind of actual careers versus just transient positions.
I think you hit on a very intellectual topic, Erin. Yes, prestige and how the positions looked at. Yes, I think that I haven't worked in France or England or Spain or any of these food capitals around. I can only talk about New York. Yeah, if you say I'm a bartender, people be like, so who cares? When you say I'm a sommelier, they say, oh wow, you're a sommelier. That's a very same as a chef.
Words. I love words.
Huh?
I love words. They have so much power.
Right. I think that might be uniquely an American thing. In the kitchen, it happens too. If you're a cook, it's whatever. If you're a sous chef, it's whatever. It's are you the chef? Yes, I'm the chef. And it's oh, okay. But oftentimes the sous chef and the head cooks are cooking more than me. When I turned as a chef, when I became a chef and I get my chef positions, I cook maybe 30% of the time.
Yeah, the rest 40%. Is planning the menu and stuff like that.
Planning the menu, ordering the food, making sure that we have our Department of Health regulations. Training. I'm constantly training people, and then when press comes in, newspaper comes in, they want to talk to the chef. Press
you're the manager, kind of.
Yes. So that is the difference. As a sous chef, I was probably a better cook when I was a sous chef than when I was executive chef, because I was cooking every day. I don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, you're constantly thinking about like different flavors and stuff. Like
as a sous chef, cooking all day. Even a prep cook, you could be prepping all day. I see every piece of fish that comes in here. That guy's a badass butcher. That guy sees every fish before it touches the plate. So, I think there's just misinformation. A lot of times, digital age is still fresh and new. How many chefs do we have out there talking about what's really going on in the industry?
Oh no, they're very much scared to lose their jobs. Like it's kind of like a loner kind of thing, like mindset. It's like, what do I care about some other kitchen? I was working at a place and they had a group of local people who had the same job, like doing a march in the city. Walked right by a restaurant. I said, hey, can you give those a pizza or something? Just to like support them. And like somebody else in the staff was like, what does that got to do with us? I was like, are you kidding me? Like this is our wheelhouse. Like
the industry, the industry's due for a makeover, and I think it's coming. The chefs go through a lot, restaurant owners go through a lot, bartenders go through a lot. That stressful environment is it's a lot. But yeah. I mean, ask away. You got a chef here that worked in 70 restaurants. I'll clear it. I know you guys worked in a lot. I've seen a lot, bro. I never stopped. I worked straight through.
Give us some of the horror highlights.
Wow. As a chef, oftentimes on Monday you'll come in, and on Tuesday, if you're the new chef, the whole staff will quit. You'll have a whole. You'll walk in. You'll be like, hey, what are the recipes? How do I run this restaurant? They give you a menu. They say, figure it out. Carbonara. You go into an Italian restaurant. We got pizza. We got appetizers. We got ensalada. We got you got to know how to make the carbonara. You got to know how to make the everything. You got calamari, no recipes, and you got service at the end of the day. 5 o'clock. You come in at 9. There's nothing there.
What makes your whole staff quit?
Oh, something happens over the weekend.
Anything, but oftentimes when you have a new chef come in, people are like, I'm not working for that chef. They'll be like, if the head chef quits, oftentimes all the staff will go with them. Very often.
It's a loyalty thing, like a captain of a ship sort of situation.
Yes.
It's like somebody in a foxhole. It's like, I'm not getting a foxhole with that guy.
Because I've worked in enough restaurants to know that like a lot of times there is sort of this building the plane while you're already trying to fly it sort of situation going. Like you just take it till you make it and you just go.
Plus, it's like social dynamics kind of like jacked up to 10, where it's like all the slight little like public slights that people take for granted. Like if you're busy and somebody calls your name and you don't like turn around right away, they could be like, oh, this motherfucker. They just think they're so special.
So what happens, the chef, when you're working in the kitchen, it's so hot. It's so stressful, so many hours. So if you have your chef, let's say Chef Edwin, people love working with me. Initially, I had to learn how to be a good manager. And then as I got older and I just love what I do. I love teaching people. I love teaching you how to use this knife, how to cook. People love working for me. If something horrible happens with me in the kitchen, let's say the owner treats me unfairly, my staff is probably going to leave with me. Now as a chef, as a reputable chef, I usually turn around. I say, hey guys, you guys got to stay here. Stay here, work with this guy. And then if it doesn't work out, then I'll hire you. But I never try to poach the staff because that's unfair to the customers. And that main thing is unfair to the customers. Customers are coming in trying to get a hot plate to eat, and you're going to take the whole staff with you. That's crazy. But oftentimes people love the chef so much, they'll leave with you.
It's not your fault either for being good, for
right?
like developing loyalty amongst the people that you work with. That's a natural thing to do.
Hold on. The only thing I did mention in the kitchen is super hot, super stressful. So these people do, sometimes they make irrational decisions. At least in New York, they're not working 40 hours. A lot of times you guys working 60, 70 hours. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So it's a very different environment than sitting in an office and working 40 hours and being like, hey, do I quit? After 60 hours a week working in 90 plus degree weather, People act irrational sometimes.
There's like a natural like divide
Fair.
between the front of the house and back of the house sometimes. Like less now than you used to be, but like sometimes like somebody's not getting tipped well, so they'll just be real like aggro and like that like kick something off, you know?
Absolutely. And the unorganized places. In the organized places, like I said, there's systems in place. So for example, in an organized place, before service starts, say we open the restaurant at 5 o'clock. 4 o'clock, I'll have a meeting with everybody. I'll be like, hey, what's up, guys? This is the food that we're serving today. This is how much it costs. We'll walk through it. This is the wine that you can sell with it. This is what I want you to push. These are the specials. And everybody's happy. Everyone eats together. Restaurants, at the end of the day, we have to remember, are small businesses. They don't get the assistance that a lot of these big companies get. Oftentimes there's no stocks getting pushed in within those small restaurants. There's no preferred loans. These guys are struggling. So it's really makeshift and make it work. Make it happen, chef. I know you guys have heard those words before.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
make it happen. Just make it happen.
Also, have you gotten any pushback from your business owner, your boss, I guess, for posting that video and for kind of making your concerns known? Because I know that I've seen a lot of different stories on Twitter and around where someone say, hey, don't go to this restaurant. Staff has tested positive for COVID and they haven't cleaned, and then they faced repercussions. So are you kind of insulated from that because of your position, or how does that work?
No, that particular situation, I have been someone seeing workplace abuse. I'm Puerto Rican. So I learned in these kitchens speaking Spanish. First generation here that educated here in New York City. And my first language was Spanish. So when I started in these kitchens at 17, most of the workforce was Spanish speaking. And I would see the abuse constantly on this immigrant workforce in New York City. Mm-hmm. And so from a young age, I always try my best to stand up for the minority. If it wasn't someone that was actually disabled, maybe they had mental, maybe they did something as small as undiagnosed anxiety to something that was diagnosed. And I'm seeing that how the staff is treating these people. I've always stood up for when I say the minority, I mean, that's the minority I mean. I'm talking about the dishwasher that's like, Eddie, I'm getting paid minimum wage. I can't afford to pay my rent. I can't get something to eat. Can I get more hours, chef? Always stood up for those people. I go to the owner, I say, I got to give this guy overtime. He can't even make it to work. He don't got no money. Can we pay him his check beforehand? So I've always stood up for the minority. The dishwasher who's like, bro, I don't speak any English. I speak Spanish, or I speak French, or I speak an African dialect, or maybe any language. I've always looked out for those people. Always. Or chef, I want to learn how to cook. I'm 18. They only let me be dishwasher. I say, bro, come over here. Sit next to me. I'll teach you how to make all these dishes. So as a chef, and now that I have a platform after being on TV, I always try to push that fairness, because there's a lot of it's not right. And in 2020, I love that the world is people speaking up. So in that particular circumstance, you're saying that you're going to feed the customers rotten food. That is not okay, period. If I'm on TV or not, now I just have the platform. That's the only difference. Mm-hmm. So the owner's saying, the only reason, so it was recorded because we were having, I go in that day for a meeting, and the owner is just acting up. Thank God my girlfriend was there. That was just a manager meeting. So that day there was no staff. It was just a manager meeting between me and the owner. So we went there to discuss a couple things. But as soon as I get there, the owner is starting to act up. After working at 70 restaurants and seeing all the craziness, I said, my girlfriend starts recording. I'm like, you might have to record this, because this might get crazy. So oftentimes people don't even know what's going on in these kitchens. So what you got on recording is literally the normal stuff that happens oftentimes in a lot of these restaurants. And we just so happen to get it on camera. So we have on that camera, we have him stating, we don't care about the customer and having food, that is all types of violations. That snippet, I had went that morning. I had sent him pictures of all the food. And I said, hey, there's a lot of food safety violations. We need to close the restaurant. We need to open an hour later. He said, I don't care. We need to have the restaurant open. I need to make money. I said, listen, health department comes right now. They're going to shut the restaurant down. You're not going to make any money. So I'm coming from a business point of view. You get they'll shut it down for a week and you'll get a B. You'll get a B, C, and people, every time they come to your restaurant, they're going to see a B or a C. So I was coming from a business point of view. That's crazy. Every time someone comes to the restaurant, they see a C, they're not going to want to eat there. C's are very rare, at least from what I've seen. B's are somewhat rare too. It's usually an A or, or nothing. So I'm coming from a business point of view on that. And we just caught it on camera. And on top of that, we have workplace harassment. We have a bunch of stuff on that on those tapes that were terrible, very terrible things.
I mean, I've been in a situation like that. Like, I currently work in a pizza place, so I got to use my hands a lot. I'm always in the dough, always in like the flour and stuff. And one time I cut my hand really bad, and I was like, hey, I cannot go like finish this. Like, I have to leave early tonight because I can't like work with the dough because my hand isn't like
can't work with bloody dough.
Yeah,
like, bloody dough.
Like, this is bad. And my boss was like, yeah, you're right. We're just a bar for the rest of the night. Like, just clean up your station. We're good. Like being a chef is a public health like position.
You are listening to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This show is called Good Morning Comrade, goodmorningcomrade.com. We have Scott, Jeff, Robert, and Aaron on the show. We also have very special guest, Chef Edwin, joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a question. And you say you've worked in a lot of restaurants, and we're a very pro-worker show here, very pro-union show. And I do want to ask if you have any experience working with any of the unions in your experience, and how has that gone? Would more worker representation and power sort of help that? Help to make these sort of standards better? Because I mean, my instinct is that unions are there to make everything safe for workers and for the people that they're doing work for. So there's more work to have going down the line, right?
Yes. I have worked with union kitchens. They're completely different. Gordon Ramsay's was a union kitchen at the end. Yes, unions are there from a manager point of view, and from kitchens that are not union. Unions are demonized, and they're demonized. They say the workers are not going to work as hard. And I worked in those kitchens, and that doesn't make any sense. It's like, hey, these guys are union, they want break. Yeah, bro, you should give your workers break. It makes them more efficient. 100%. So
everybody needs a smoke break, even if you don't smoke.
Yes, everyone needs a break. Like, you cannot just work 14 hours in a row or 10 hours in a row, or even 8 hours. You should have a short break. So when I used to manage a lot of these cooks that were union, it was different. It had to be a completely different management style. So for you to ask me that, I feel like you've worked somewhere. You have experience in union and non-union.
So boy, does he.
I don't have a restaurant experience myself, but I do have some friends who I've had shared experience with. Now I have worked in different union workplaces and non-union workplaces, and there are market differences. But I have not worked in a service industry job that was union, specifically because in the South that's just very rare. So I live in New Orleans area. There's only 2 hotels in the area that are organized by Unite Here Local 23, which is fantastic. I love them.
We love them. We're very here for them.
I appreciate that. I like that. I like the unions.
Yeah, and they have the Hilton and the Lowe's hotel down here, and I tell people go to those places because that's where. And I have friends that were organizers for them.
Lowe's is nice.
And I do think that because I haven't been experienced necessarily that specific difference in a service setting, in my experience, which is over 10 years, I just want to know a little bit more about the difference in dynamics? Because
Absolutely, I'll break it down. So boom,
Mhm.
a cook comes in. I can tell you very specific back out. Cook comes in, union, coming on time, probably given a chef coat, probably have pants, probably have chef pants and a chef coat. Has a schedule that
Mhm.
is an actual schedule. Oftentimes when it's not union, it's just like, hey, can you come in at 11 today? Can you come in earlier? Can you come in at
Yep.
2?
Very ad hoc.
Over their seniority. When I've worked union, when I worked hotels and hospitals, there's cook 1, cook 2, cook 3. There's tiers. In another restaurant, it's just you guys are just hands, and you can leave if you want, and we'll just hire somebody else. There's no paid time off, 0 paid time off in 90% of the restaurants I worked in, 95%. No break. You literally, if you are very, 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 very good at your job and you somehow get everything done, you might be able to eat in the corner on top of a crate for like 5 minutes. There's no regulations. You could end up, I worked one day from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. straight, no break.
Triple shift.
Yeah, crazy. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So a union protects these workers from things that are pretty standard in a lot of other jobs. I've worked 4 months in a row, literally 7 days. In a union, you can't do that. So yeah, I'm very pro-union, and that's why the turnover is so high, because people will work 3 months in a row. 3 months at a restaurant working 7 days is a long time. If you're working 7 days, 20-hour days, 18-hour days, 14-hour days, 7 days for 3 months, after 3 months, you kind of almost did like almost a year. You're like, okay, I'm out of this. So that's why the turnover is high. They kind of just try to, at least in New York, it's almost like a meat grinder. But
No,
there
that's
are
the same
some
down here.
That is a very appropriate word, a
Like-
way to describe it.
like
Meat
I'm-
grinder.
Like I've never worked on Bourbon Street, but like I've heard all the stories about just how like burned out these people get and just awful. Like, oh man. But like you're right. I've never worked at a place that had paid time off. I worked at a place that gave me free chef pants. That was nice. I mean, it just grinds you down, and if they don't need you, they kick you away. It's great. Love that job.
Yep.
So many mentally ill people in that field.
It's kind of how it is. For my young chefs, the way I got around it, one of the keys was I never took a job for the pay when I was younger. I always took the job to learn. So I started 17. I say, hey, listen, if you're going to put me through the mill, I never did the same thing twice either. If I worked at an Italian restaurant for a year, the next year I worked at a German place. The next year I worked making sushi. The next year I worked making pizza. So if they're going to put you through the meat grinder, you got to spin it on them and do something that you didn't do before. So if you're going to work me 7 days, I'm going to do dessert this year. So I really did very well at that. I'm going to do high volume. Now I'll do Gordon Ramsay. After Gordon Ramsay asked me where I went. Overnight doing pizza. I learned how to do Neapolitan pizza.
That was good.
Yes. And it was New York. 14th Street, which is kind of like the mecca of immigration right there.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an Italian dude straight from Naples coming in with a foreign exchange. We had like a contract with like a foreign exchange college in Naples. And when I say a contract, I mean just like one guy came from Naples and he called his friends and he'd be like, hey, after 3 months, he'd go back to Naples and he'd bring somebody else in. And they'd be like, you guys are paying me to do pizza? We do this all the time. Well, so that's how I kind of got away from being thrown in the meat grinder. I would always choose a job that I do something new. Always.
Keeps it fresh.
Always. Go ahead.
So Chef, so kind of speaking about immigration, and you were saying earlier that there are kind of a ton of workplace abuses happening just because there's so many undocumented people working. And I know that there is specific, I mean, obviously there's like awful racial dynamics in the rest of the country, but a lot of that plays out pretty visibly in the restaurant industry. I know a lot of times like front of house, kind of the higher paying, like the higher tip earning positions, white, and then anybody who's not white in a lot of places end up being back of house. Is that still the case? Is that changing at all? And what are your feelings?
it's the case. I feel like right now, people covering that. I try to give people the tips that are not being spoken about. I try to give people tips like, it's horrible, a lot of things that are happening. The tip around it is like what I just said. I try to focus conversation on that. If they're gonna abuse you, let's say when workplace, it started with Spanish speaking. Then you had a lot of Spanish speaking immigrants and they would be like, hey, this job's better. Let's go over here. So then after Spanish speaking the workforce, it was a lot of French that I saw coming in. French, there's a smaller amount of people that are speaking French, or African. So the dialect from where they are in Africa. So after Spanish speaking people would be like, yo, this is too abusive, we're out of here. They get the next immigrant force to come in. And when I was there, it was French. In New York, it'd be a lot of French, a lot of Muslims coming in. And you kind of just gotta, if this is how you're gonna treat me at the job, you kind of gotta use the job the best way you can. So if I would have a dishwasher come in and he didn't speak any English and he would be abused, I'd be like, hey, work your way up. I'll teach you how to move up and cook, because at least cooking's a step up from dishwashing. So, I mean, it does play out. You try to do your best to get around it. Once again, this is how you guys found me, because I always try to stand up for the minority. Yeah, it's a dog-eat-dog world. The kitchen is not a place that it's very fair either. But on a positive note, I do say that in the kitchen, when kitchens are run beautifully, it's a beautiful thing. There's no color in the kitchen. It's almost like oftentimes they say sports unites people. When you're cooking 90 degrees next to someone sweating, it don't matter if it's a man, woman, black, white, old, young, y'all all there to get out of the weeds. We call it the weeds in the kitchen. Get out the shits together. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's one of the things that keeps me in this industry. And one of the things that I do love is that when you're in it together, you guys all got to accomplish the same mission together. So there are kitchens that are beautifully run. I tell you that. You guys can have faith. There are kitchens that is beautiful. There's no color. It doesn't matter if this guy's rich. That's the celebrity chef. Guess what? He's cooking right next to the immigrant that just came over here. And we're doing the same thing. And we all got to work together. If we don't find a way to work together, the kitchen goes down.
Yeah, that is a common thing when it comes to work. I find, like, when people are on the same page and when they're doing the same thing, the thing that unites us, not the fact that who's getting the benefit of the work, that's most of the time the boss, but the people that are coming together and doing the thing that is producing the thing, all of the workers doing the thing, whatever you are, race, whatever, gender, whatever,
rich, poor,
anything,
old,
whatever, like that is the thing that brings people together. The fact that you are actually doing the freaking work, and like that's the thing that matters the most.
Yeah,
yes.
we should all be
That's
looking
beautiful.
out for the people because we all love going to restaurants. I mean, we're millennials; it's our favorite thing to do. And we should be just making sure that we're, when these kind of workplace abuses are brought to our attention, we hear them and we react, whether, it's a boycott, or if we just need to call or whatever we need to do. So what are our calls to action for?
Aaron, I'll tell you this. So now that I have a bit of a platform, one of the reasons that I did post that video and I've been marketing it is I had a pastry chef, beautiful young lady, came to work for me. Because when I interviewed them, I interview everybody. I say, hey, listen, I'm involved 70 hours a week. I'm here. I will make sure that you guys are not abused. I will make sure that everything's fair. I'll make sure that I'm here 70 hours and you guys are doing less work than me. I love doing this. I'll take care of you. People love working for me. So in this latest episode of Kitchen Nightmares Real Life, this young lady sexually harassed at the job, told the owner ignored it. I was not present when it happened. She came in there to work with me, admired my work ethic, admired, my pedigree, everything I came from. She came to work with me. A week after working there, she had to quit. She quit. She no longer works there. She quit, and she's no longer cooking anymore. Now she's trying to work at a museum. So because she was sexually harassed, because there was so much dysfunction in the kitchen. So we have to, I appreciate you guys for having me on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be vocal about, as leaders in our field, if you're a leader as a chef or you're an intellectual and your mind just, you are able to identify these things that are not okay, you have to make it public. You have to make it public. And if you don't want to take that stand, find someone that'll do it for you. So when I sacrifice my job to speak about all this workplace harassment that's going on there, the spoiled food going out to customers, that's not okay. But not everybody can be outspoken like that, because guess what? You end up without a job during Corona.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
ain't a lot of places hiring right now.
No, not a lot of places hiring. But for the people that do speak out, it's very admirable. I appreciate you guys for bringing me on the show and for talking about that and stressing those issues. Yes, you gotta, if you're not vocal, these people continue doing it. If it's not sexual harassment, it's abuse on immigrants. It's abuse on if you don't speak the language where you're at. It's abuse on if you're poor, you got to just take whatever I'm paying you. It's abuse on you don't want to lose your job, so you're scared. There's all types of abuse. So you got to speak up. These people,
whatever weakness you can identify in somebody, it will be exploited. You know what I mean?
And if that's something that's happening,
I didn't mean to interrupt like that.
Seek out the organization in your city that can help. So we're in New Orleans. We have Congresso, the day laborers. They can help with that. They have attorneys. They have a lot of really great resources. And so a lot of times, especially people who are, don't speak English and who aren't documented, they might feel like there aren't places to turn to. And, in a lot of places there are. And so it's important that getting that information out there, knowing that, hey, if you speak up, people will have your back. That's kind of where we all come in as consumers if we're not working in these places. It's important. This is, we care about each other, and we really want everybody to be doing well. And times out there.
Really easy thing to do also is if you get treated bad somewhere and you see something you don't like, just talk about it. Like the worst thing you could do is talk about it, because like how many restaurants like stay open on reputation? Like just like mess them up, mush them.
The people do not, I say this, the people do not play that shit. In 2020, if women are getting sexually harassed, a lot of the restaurants that I work for came under huge sexual harassment suits, and those restaurants don't exist anymore. If the people don't play that, the people are being more vocal about it, and I love it. I love to see it. You have to continue doing so, because if you don't talk back to these bullies, they continue being bullies. So I love it. The people know what's up. People that are antiquated in their business styles are being outed every day.
Yeah.
Jeff, where can we find you online?
So you can find me. My website is www.highteynyc.com, highteynyc.com. And I'm all over Twitter. Same thing, same handle, highteynyc_. And my Instagram, highteynyc_. So all the same. I have a YouTube dropping, not only for giving free vegan recipes, but also for talking about the things that happen in these restaurants that a lot of people don't know. Along the way, I want to say I've met a lot of great chefs, a lot of great business owners, and I don't want this experience to sour what I think about the industry. I think being a chef is one of the most beautiful things. You get to cook for your parents, you get to cook for your loved ones. It's a beautiful thing. It's the most humbling thing. Food has no racism, food has no classism, food has nothing. It's just, I cook for you. You make people so happy. I've cooked for the richest. I've been at places. We've cooked for Hillary Clinton. We've cooked for one night on Monday. We cooked for Hillary Clinton. On Tuesday we cooked for Cameron the rapper.
Oh, nice.
Dipset all day. So it's just, and on Wednesday we're cooking for a drunk party goer, and on Thursday we're doing charity for the homeless people. So like, cooking is a beautiful thing. I always love that. I love that about my career.
I have one more question, just really quick.
Yes.
One of the things that I really appreciate and I find that's really interesting in restaurants that it's not everywhere is like the idea of family meal. Is that something that you
mandatory?
It's mandatory.
Mandatory.
Go on about
mandatory when I'm working.
Okay, tell me about
mandatory.
it.
So
what is family meal first?
Family meal is beautiful. Family meal is beautiful. Family meal is a beautiful thing. So family meal usually is served at about 4 o'clock. You go in the kitchen, you find some things that are on their last two legs. When I say that, I mean the restaurants I've worked in, when I'm working, quality has to be top. I might have some salmon or chicken that I need to cook in the next 48 hours.
Yeah,
maybe throughout the week. Maybe throughout the week, huh?
Before it goes bad.
Before it goes bad. Not when it goes bad. That's when you're
Obviously
doing bad things with family. It's crazy. You have some mussels that are beginning to open up. So you're like, okay, family meal, we're going to get some mussels with some lemongrass, with some rice. Very cheap. It's a beautiful thing. We all sit down. So you cook. Best restaurants I worked at, I'd cook the steaks that we have, or the chicken, the protein. I'd have an intern cook the rice or something. I'd have another cook the soup or the sauce that goes with it. Family
People
meal.
are learning in this process.
Yes, you experiment. Oftentimes the chef doesn't cook. I've cooked it. I'll go do paperwork. I'll be like, hey guys, you guys want to make a nice lemongrass mussels?
Go wild.
Now's your time to experiment with it.
I mean, you're already in an industrial kitchen. Like, how often you can just do stuff like that?
Yes. So you cook for everybody. You maybe someone's got a crush. Maybe you're dating a server or something. You're like, what do you want to eat today? You want chicken wings? Okay, we'll make sure we make chicken wings. So family meal, everyone takes one part of the dish, one protein, one starch. Maybe someone will make the drink. You make the lemonade, you make the horchata. So everyone takes one component, takes about an hour while you're prepping up for service. You come out, usually it's done around 4 o'clock. Why? Because dinner is usually around 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So at 4 o'clock, everyone's coming in and the morning people are leaving. So the morning people, before they leave and go home, they can sit down and eat. And the people that are coming in ready for dinner can sit down and eat, and everybody eats together. Usually in New York, the restaurant might be closed from 4 to 5 because no one really is coming to eat from 4 to 5. And you sit down, you eat together, you eat free.
It's like those sushi restaurants that close from like 4 to 6 or something like that, just because, like, I don't know, they got to put it back in the fridge or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
sounds so amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful. Cool. It's the experimentation piece that you talked about. 2, it's the not wasting thing piece, which is like so critical. And then 3, it's that everybody does it together. That's such a beautiful thing to me. You know,
everybody eats, and then you get your break before it gets busy. So the best thing is you get to eat, you get to sit down, everyone's laughing, everyone's bonding, and then we're all going to take out this rush together.
It builds everybody's bond with one another. You know, that's unity, you know, whether or not you have a union or whatever. That's like you were talking about, the work brings people together, and that's part of it. I guess we're going to start into wrapping up real quick, but if there's anything you want to say on your way out, Chef, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate talking with you, and I hope you come back sometime.
I'm looking forward to your YouTube.
I appreciated all 3 of your viewpoints. I appreciated you talking about pro workers. Love that. I'm people over profits, 100%. And I'll be involved in if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm involved 100% in any charities. If I am in your part of the world, I will do the charity. My services are 100% free if it's for a good service, if it's for a good cause. And the YouTube's going to be out because I think it's very rarely to have a chef who's worked in 70 restaurants, started 17 years old. Now I'm about to be 32. So it's almost 14, 15 years in this industry, and it's all true. I am a very fair person, so I always tell it like it is.
Cool, man.
Yes.
Well,
thank you so much.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And thanks for putting yourself out there and bringing into what was, a really bad situation. So we really
yeah, respect, like so much respect, my friend. And you can listen to Good Morning Comrade every Tuesday on WHIV-FM on online at WHIVFM.org/listen. You can also listen to us online, WHIVFM.org. /good-morning-comrade and get more information about our show at goodmorningcomrade.com. So thanks everybody. Thank you, Chef. Thanks to the crew. Love you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you, comrades.
Bye.
That was so much fun, y'all. All right.
Hey,
Yeah,
appreciate
that's
it,
awesome.
We're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna edit this up and have it up in the morning.